to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
The news cycle doesn't end on Friday. It needs perspective. That's why every Sunday at midday, Nationwide 90 FM presents The Week That Was. A clear, informed review of the top stories that shaped the past week, what really mattered and what lies ahead. No noise, no theatrics, just analysis, context, and clarity. The Week That Was. Sundays at 12 p.m. Understand the news before the week begins. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media.
Me sing, and if you pressure who no more, you illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook, and you not go get no work, and your teeth like a puss, send me granny with a purse, I eat you off a joke, if I see them, I will you red and big tonight.
Whenever you hear that on a Friday night, you know it is time for the A-Team radio show. Good evening to you all. Welcome to another edition of this program. It's your on-air study program. You're tuned into Nationwide 90 FM, and you're listening to Damon Scarlett, and I will certainly be carrying you through tonight's proceedings. Of course, when we are here on a Friday, this is where we give the study tips. This is where we go through past paper questions. We are in the examination season. CSEC and CAPE are well underway, and we have some upcoming exams coming up next week. As you know, that exams are at 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And this evening, we're going to be turning our attention to an area of mathematics, where we call it ADMATS. My special guest this evening is none other than Damien Chippy, no stranger to the show, no stranger to the program. And we will see how best we can communicate in a mathematical language tonight. Damien, how are you doing?
Not bad at all, not bad at all.
All right, always good to have you. So we do know that as the students are preparing for the exams, we're in that mode, in that period. The paper 2 of the CXC ADMAT is coming up on Monday, I believe. Is it Monday? May 18th?
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah, Monday, May 18th. The paper, 2 hours and 40 minutes. And then on Thursday, June 4th, 2026, they will be sitting paper 1, which is 1 hour and 30 minutes. So as Jamaica continues to push forward in science, technology, engineering, and innovation, mathematics remains one of the strongest foundations of STEM education. So whether it's engineering, medicine, data science, architecture, artificial intelligence, finance, or even music technology, math plays a major role in shaping the future workforce of our country. And yet, some students still struggle with confidence in mathematics or question its importance beyond the classroom. And just to kind of lay the foundation, this kind of preface that we want to set, before we get into looking a little bit about the syllabus, just quickly, Damon, why is mathematics important, and how does it help in terms of the development of our country?
Well, by now, people are getting to understand the importance of maths. So even though you ask the question, I think people are being more aware, that maths is really fundamental for any development of any nation at all, as it is. All right, so maths allows individual to be problem solver. Yes, sometimes kids would ask me, "But sir, circle theorem, this circle equation, x plus a all square plus y plus b all square equal to r square.
Yes.
What am I going to do with that? Yes, I mean, as I tell my students, all right, that it doesn't matter what area of life you're going into. One thing that you have to do as an adult is have the ability to solve problems.
Right.
Problems going to come to you in your personal sphere, in your professional sphere, and we must have the ability to solve problems. All right. And in my business, operating a school, I come across a lot of challenges. You understand me? And let me just tell you, it's my mathematical background that allows me to solve many of the problems that I do have. Some of my peers in terms of other private institution,
Yes.
I'm a little institution compared to many of them, just the same. My approach is different.
Yes.
You understand me? Calculated. Everything that I do, every policy that I set in my business
Yes.
is from a mathematical foundation. I'm solving a problem. And again, in many organizations, here at Nationwide, they have policies, they have procedures, they have
Right.
whatever.
Certainly.
Between staff, between clientele, for advertisers. It's really mathematical. So even if the fuels are not fit to maths, somebody in the background that assists him. Yes, why do we need that in place and whatever? Yes, so we need maths. Maths is also very
Maths is life.
fundamental for reasoning.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to get your reasoning, your logical reasoning. Whatever you must say, it must make sense. Whatever you're doing must make sense. Yes,
Certainly.
So, for any nation at all, math is very critical. Yes, very, very critical.
I like how you put that there. So laying that kind of foundation in terms of problem solving, and that's very needed. One of the things too, if you could just give the differentiation between the regular CXC mathematics. This is CXC, CSEC as well.
So
what's the difference between math and ADMAT?
All right, so CSEC, both of them are with CSEC, but to differentiate it, now you see, ADMAT would tend to kind of bridge the gap between CSEC and pure maths.
Yes.
Because I think many people would have a more challenging time with pure maths had they just leave CSEC maths and go pure maths. All right.
Okay.
CSEC, we are aware of many things that they may ask you from as early as elementary school coming up. And it has been repeated in the different grades that we're in or whatever, in different ways, in different forms.
Right.
So we are more familiar. Yes, No, but when come on to add maths, you're going to book upon stuff, or you're going to book upon areas that of study that really and truly is the first time you're encountering it. However, you're still going to need your background of mathematics in order to navigate your way regarding ADMATs. So there's a difference between the two, but the truth is that ADMATs will give a smoother transition from CSEC to CAPE.
Right.
Much better. That's much better. All right, especially doing pure maths. All right, and I know seeing the syllabus. Although probability was there a lot, but they challenge you on a whole total question and probability alone. No.
Yeah.
Yes, if you go in applied maths, you have that to assist you as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're seeing the bridge there in terms of why it is needed and necessary. But there have been some changes to the ADMAT syllabus. Let's if you can also walk us through what are the general changes and what students need to be mindful of.
All right. So ADMAT is roughly 14 years of age.
Wow.
6E ADMAT. We used to hear about ADMAT, but that was GCE ADMAT. Now CXC since 2012 had taken on the course of ADMATs by themselves. Now, ADMATs before it used to have 8 questions. All right, where the first 6 is compulsory, and then you choose either between 7 and 8. Number 7 is probability. Number 8 that have to do with kinematics. But now, the good thing is that change that to include all, because all of them is very important, because you choose between kinematics and probability sometimes. Students tend to just ignore one or the other. Or some teachers, no matter really teach one and just tell them to focus on the other. Yeah, that's not necessarily good. All right, so now CXC changed all that. As it is now, the setting up of the exam is only 6 questions. They're all compulsory. However, the sections are now changes.
Yeah.
It used to be 6 sections, but now it's only 4 sections. Mark you all the topics. All the topics still exist in all the 4, but they now break them up in 4 different categories. So now we have the algebra, sequence, and series. That's section 1.
Yeah.
Section 2, coordinate geometry, vectors, and trigonometry.
Right.
Section 3, introductory to calculus, and section 4, probability and statistics. Now, the first section is really wide, and the first section would have really, taken you from CSEC coming back into the fray here, going up, stepping it up a notch.
So that's like working with the equations and
yes,
things,
yeah. So the algebra, you know what I mean? So it tend to, it's wider. There are more topics, but relatable topics, right? Coming in from CSEC. And then we talk about the coordinate geometry, vectors, and trigonometry. Although we have heard trigonometry in CSEC, but in regards to ADMATS, it's a whole different ball game.
Okay.
So this trigonometry dealing with, it's actually preparing you for calculus, by the way. So that section 2 is actually supposed to prepare you for calculus. And then we have coordinate geometry. When we speak about coordinate geometry, they're actually really talking about the equation of a circle.
Right.
However, to understand the equation of a circle, you go back to equation of a straight line. You understand? Maybe that's heavy in CSEC. All right. So now coming into ADMATS, coordinate geometry, although it's actually the equation of a circle, but you still need your knowledge base of equation of a straight line.
So the graphs come into play.
Yeah, man. The graphs and how you analyze it and all of that.
Yeah.
Then we talk about still section 2, vectors. There is vectors in CSEC, but also the vector kind of similar, just the same. They have similarities, but they branch out more now.
Yeah.
Regarding to ADMATS, where we speak about finding angles between vectors, the vectors in a particular vector in a particular direction.
Right.
So they go more, and the how the vectors can be presented. It's different in ADMATS than in CSEC.
Okay.
Right.
I think about vectors more also kind of, it helps in the context of even for physics.
Yeah, man. I mean, in fact, I would even differentiate maths and physics.
And physics, right.
Yeah, I mean, trust me. All right. No, but the thing is that a grown understanding of the CXC syllabus for CSEC maths would really prepare you for ADMATS. All right. Some people may pass the CSEC maths, but they don't really understand the syllabus. So when they come into ADMATS, they struggle a lot.
Yeah.
Right? And you may need a teacher like me to really try to make you bridge that gap. So even though you may have a grade 1 in ADMATS, in CSEC maths,
Yes.
there's no guarantee that, okay, it's be smooth sailing for ADMATS. All right. Then we have the introductory to calculus. All right. That have to deal with derivative and integration.
Yeah.
All right. Now that would be new chart for many students, integration and derivative, although they're opposite in each other. I mean, derivative is just like finding the gradient.
Right.
Yeah. So the integration is finding the original function before the gradient was found. Yeah. So you have to understand both of them. Just like in section 1, we talk about logarithm and indices.
Yeah.
They are opposite each other. All right. And then now what CXC do now, regarding kinematics, because kinematics is heavy with integration and differentiation. So they put kinematics right there in the introductory of calculus at section 3, just the same. All right?
Right.
And then we have section 4 now that deals with probability and statistic.
Yeah, the application. Then.
It's like, see, how they set it up now, a whole section, a whole question just focuses on
that.
probability and statistic. So you see, them have to know how to draw the different type of diagrams. You understand me? The box and whisker, the tree diagram. You understand me? The stem plot. Them have to, the students have to understand all that, how to draw those diagrams. All right? And not only that, in regards to probability, students have to understand how to approach questions of probability, the different approach that are made with regards to probability.
Yeah, so certain events, whether it's occurring, not occurring,
The independent event,
things, right?
Mutual exclusive, non-mutual exclusive.
Right.
Students have to understand what does that mean, all right, in order to approach these questions, all right, because it can be very tricky, all right, because you get probability in CSEC, but going into ADMAT, it kind of prepare them, especially for applied maths, and it prepare them for Unit 2 pure maths. Some regarding probability.
Right. Thanks for sharing that, Damien. I want you to hold that point, and we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're looking at more of the concepts, principles of mathematics, and then I'm sure we're going to give you some questions for you to really work through. This is the A-Team Radio Show. We'll be right back after this.
If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight. You puke, me look and say, book. If you pressure on your book, if you not no education, people treat you like a book. Turn you in a handyman, dog, food you have to cook. Them no one candy man.
Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Morning after morning, you've made Nationwide 90 FM part of your routine. So let's take this connection one step closer. Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club and be part of it officially on Patreon.
Family. Amazing family.
It's the weekend and the youth are taking over the airwaves. Yes, we are the new voices and faces of the Talk Up You radio show. The voice of the Jamaican youth right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
After a busy week of work and school, come and wine with Jamaica's #1 youth radio show.
We're bringing you entertainment, fun facts, and staying true to youth development and advocacy.
Catch the action each and every Saturday as we roll out buzzy segments. What say you?
Youth for chat.
Life skills.
Global Connect.
And
Bust the Youth.
That's the Talk Up Youth radio show. Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth. Don't miss it.
Me sing, book. And if you pressure on no book, you illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook. And you not go get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you off the joke. If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight, you puke.
Welcome back to the A-Team Radio Show right here on Nationwide 90 FM. If you're just joining us, we are going through the subject tonight, mathematics. And so we're looking at some of the challenges that students face in preparing for this exam. As I mentioned, that the exam is coming up on Monday. Not that you can swat everything on overnight over the weekend.
You can't. You can't swat at
You see, Damien say you cannot do that. So you have to learn the functions and how you can apply them.
You have to have the principles
of it and the concept of it. Right. So I know for now you wanted us to look a little bit now at the whole matter of the trigonometry and kinematics, as you were mentioning, and what are some of the challenges there that students have?
Students here in trigonometry, to begin with, from CSEC, some of them would have this hang up on trigonometry from CSEC.
Yeah.
Especially, why most, based on my experience in teaching, the most problematic area in CSEC would have to deal with the bearings.
Yes.
Yes, I mean?
Oh, yes.
Good. that is involved trigonometry. However, in ADMAT, trigonometry is somewhat different. While the focus in CSEC is more finding a missing angle or side of a triangle using trigonometry. For ADMAT, not so. Alright? Now, the degree angle that they are familiar with is no longer this case, is radian angle. Their focus is on. Alright? Where they have to know to convert from degree to radian, radian to degree. Now, how they convert from degree to radian is just simply multiply the degree angle by pi over 180. If you're supposed to convert from radian to degree, is simply multiply the radian angle by 180 over pi. Alright? So they must know how to do that as well. As they go along, they'll get used to knowing some special angles in radian. Alright? Like 180 is pi radian. 180 degrees is same as pi radian. 2 pi radian is 280. 3 pi over 2, that's 270. Pi over 2, that's 90. Then we talk about the special angles like 30, the 60, and the 45 degrees. 45 is pi over 4. 30 degrees is pi over 6, while the 60 degrees is pi over 3. So, they will get used to those by now. But then again, sometimes they are being flustered when the degree angle, the radian angle is in decimal rather than pi radian. Alright? Sometimes they get flustered. They know that they have to change their calculator function to the radian function rather than the degree function. The norm for many calculators is the degree function.
Right.
Right,
and that's important when they're in the exam.
Good. So they have to know how to change the calculators. Alright. So you have a radian angle calculation with the calculator, then you have the degree angle calculation. But they're more familiar with the degree angle because it's actually from birth come up to fifth form. That's okay. That's the mode. That mode is okay. But when you come on to ADMATs now, you have to know how to switch the mode.
So the degree measure then is 360. Is 360?
The degree is 360. And compare that with pi, the radian is 2 pi.
2 pi, right. So fundamentally, you need to know that going into
you need to know these things going into the exam.
Okay.
Now, the other thing about with trigonometry is you have to understand the identities. You'll tend to understand the Pythagoras theorem better with using identities. You tend to have a more appreciation for Pythagoras theorem. That's a formula that they will be familiar with from CSEC, but they more understand it better and appreciate it more if they dive into the whole identities. And let me just say, by the way, in understanding trigonometry identities, one has to have an appreciation of manipulation. Now, I know manipulation in English language is a negative word.
Yeah.
And I always tell my students is that it's not, the word is negative. The word manipulation is not a negative word. I always tell my students that it's the intention of the individual.
Right.
Yeah, Sammy?
That comes into question.
That comes into question.
Right.
But we have to manipulate our way of everyday life. All of us do it. Yeah, Sammy, you coming from downstairs, so you have to manipulate the steps, how high you're going to actually lift your foot to go up a stairs, or what the speed that you're walking towards a barrier. All of those stuff, you have to manipulate your way so that you can navigate your way and get to where you're going in a safe manner without tripping over the carpet, without tripping over something. You have to manipulate your way. So manipulation I love it. Yes, I mean.
so in essence, then you're using, as you said, the trigonometric manipulation to kind of rewrite or simplify.
Yes, so you're actually rearranging it. You're actually proving that why this set of trigonometry identities is equal to another set.
Right.
And based on what you know of the ratios in ADMATs, we either have the cos, the sin, and the tangent ratio. Right. However, we also introduce the inverse of that, All right, so you have the of cos, you have 1 over cos, which is sec. You have 1 over sin, which is cosec, and 1 over tan, which is cot. You also must understand that the square, sin over cos is the same thing as tan. Tangent, that is. You understand me?
Right.
Good. So therefore, we have to, doing trig identities allow many students to appreciate what they were doing in CSEC in regards to the trig ratios. All right. So it's those ratios are then used for you to know how to manipulate. You understand me? So again, we have to do manipulation in order to solve problems. So that's why the topic in CSEC is also very important. This topic, transposition of the formula or subject of formula to sum. You understand me? These topics are very, very important because it helps with how we manipulate functions or equation to whatever desired outcome that we wish to have.
I know that there's certain rules that come into play, especially if we are trying to prove like the identities and so on. And I think from what I remember is that you can work. You ought to work on one side.
Yes, which based on how CSEC is actually set up. For the most part, even going up to pure maths, for the most part, you tend to want to work out the left-hand side to see how, because the left-hand side is more compounded. So it's a more compounded side. It's easier to break down a more compounded trig identity than a simplified one. So you break down the left-hand side to see how you get the right-hand side. Because how CSEC set it up is that the left-hand side is more compounded.
Right, okay.
So they have to have the knowledge of the basic identities, the fundamental identities, like the sin square x plus cos square x is equal to 1. We also must know that sin x over cos x is tan x. Yes, and we also must know the inverse of these. You understand me? 1 over cos sec x, 1 over sin cosec x, 1 over tan cot x, and so forth. So we use up those. That's our fundamental in trig identities. But trig identities don't stop at these fundamental identities. For the syllabus, it takes us through compound identities. Compound identities with regards to sin, cos, and tan. How the breakup of two angles to form a single angle. So if you have sin 65, let me just put it like this, sin 75. How is it that we can solve sin 75 without the use of calculator? Yes, this is where our special angles, we know our different special angles, using the compound identities to assist us in solving that without the use of calculator. And then what I tell my students is that, and for students who are listening, you're thinking that, you have a calculator, so you can always, but trust me, your calculator not going to help you in this case. As much as you may think, it will not help you. You have to understand how the exam is set up. Your calculator will never help you in defining the answer. All right? So therefore, students, you have to understand how is it that the compound identities, the expansion, because compound identities is like an expansion. So the sin A plus B, which is on the formula sheet, by the way, in the exam, it would have been now sin A cos A plus sin A cos B plus cos A sin B. Then when you come on to the subtraction of it, cos sin A minus B, sin A cos B minus sin cos A sin B. So these are things that they must to understand. It's a different.
Takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, man. It takes then when you come on to know the cos is it's different. So the concept for cos is different from sin. Concept for tan is different from cos, and so forth. So they have to understand it. And when they do have an appreciation of that, they're better able to resolve a lot of problems. And again, when I speak about problem solving earlier, I don't know, students and listeners, I must say alike, it's very crucial for us as individuals to know and understand how to resolve problems.
Yeah.
You understand me? As simple as problems when you go to a road and there's a quarrel between you and a person. It's a problem. How do we resolve this in an amicable manner? You understand me?
Yeah.
Knowing all the variables at play. You understand me? Now, for somebody who is hot-headed, don't think or whatever, you realize that they may be on the wrong side of the law. Or not only that, if they're not on the wrong side of the law, they may be dead. You understand me? Depending on how they choose to resolve that issue. You understand me?
Yeah.
So,
no. Finish.
So problem solving is very crucial, and these are things that really build you as an individual. That's why I said, students must all take up maths for one reason or the other. So no matter whether you're doing the arts, whether you're doing the, media, or you're doing whatever it is that you're doing.
Right.
Because with media, you need good reasoning skills. Maths build you on that. With the English may talk about how you can construct yourself or whatever, but with maths give you the logical reasoning skills. You understand me? Yeah.
Love that concept that you've shared there. When we come back from the break, I know you've touched on some of the misconceptions. Like in my mind, and for students, like how do you know when to, for example, to switch between like the radians? You say you mentioned degree, you mentioned the radians. That is apparent. Is that based on the question that they're answering to determine at what point they switch their calculator into that?
All right. For ADMATS, we're talking about the ADMATS, so we're sticking to ADMATS. There is a section where we do the introduction of trigonometry by simply, talk about angles. That area that we have to calculate sectors and areas of sectors or length of an arc. Student must know that whether the examiner stated or not, based on the syllabus, you should know that once come across finding areas or length of an arc regarding sectors, your calculator must be on a radian angle basis. Now, moving forward now in regards to like trigonometry, equation and all of that. So it depends on how the examiner asks you to present your answer. Sometimes they will ask you to present, in most cases that is, they will ask you to present your answer in radian. However, there are times that they indicate to you that you can present your answer in degree angle. So especially when you're doing trigonometry equation, you'll see the domain values, that is the x values. They tell you that x must between, x or theta must be between the range 0 to 360 degrees, or if they say 0 to 2 pi, you know that right there again, all the answer must be in radian. All
right, let's hold that point. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're talking about mathematics. So if you're tuning in and you're wondering what are they talking about on radio, we're breaking down the factors, talking about the principles that you can apply so that when you get into the examination room, you know what to do. Let's take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM with me, the Stinger Honeybee, and Pepita from 3 to 5 p.m. as we broadcast live from Mega Mart Waterloo Friday, May 22. Yours truly and Pepita plus Mega Mart are bringing the vibes with the end of month Mega Specials. Join us at Mega Mart Waterloo for all the excitement, entertainment, and more. Pepita and I are doing it mega with Mega Mart. Don't miss the May end of month Mega Specials outside broadcast Friday, May 22 at Mega Mart Waterloo from 3 to 5 p.m. Mega Mart, best value by far.
This is not just a radio show. This is a lifestyle takeover. Ready to level up your home and your mindset? Tune in to the Design Studio with Karen Booker, your design diva, where bold ideas, refined interiors, and powerful living collide. We're bringing you next level interior design, real decor fixes in What Would Karen Do, transformation secrets inside Design Lab, and mindset elevation in Thrive 360. Because this is more than design, this is lifestyle. From stunning home tours to confidence building conversations, we're designing rooms and redefining success. Catch the Design Studio Saturdays at 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM and streaming live on YouTube at Nationwide 90 FM Live. Design bold, live elevated, thrive fully.
Me sing, boop, boop, boop. Every pressure on no more. You illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook. And you not go get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you off a joke. If I see them, I hold you red and big tonight. You puke, me look and say.
Ready? Welcome back to the A-Team Radio Show. We are in the second half of our program this evening, and we're talking about add mathematics. Yes, there is some additional functions and algebra and all of those things that students are being exposed to. And just before our last break there, we were talking about trigonometry, looking at what are some of the principles. Spoke about degree, radian, length of an arc, as you'd have mentioned, Damon, because I'm also learning some of these principles too. It's been a while since I've done math. But we want to touch a little bit on introduction to kinematics in terms of, just tell us what that's about, because I know that has to do with something with motions, right? Yeah.
So kinematics is in physics. Students who does physics would be, introduced to it, but not so much in the full mathematical concept as it is in AdMaths. Now, again, they would have put kinematics with regards to the introduction of calculus on the basis that kinematics would be heavy, apart from your ability to sketch the graph, apart from your ability to manipulate the various kinematic equations. And again, kinematics, as I said, deal with motions, all right? So you have to understand the whole distance time graph, you understand me? Displacements time graph, velocity, speed time graph, velocity time graph. In AdMaths / physics, you don't know that distance is not a vector quantity. It's a scalar quantity, meaning that it only talk about the magnitude. However, displacement talk about both the magnitude and direction, which is really more profound under the syllabus.
Well, so the displacement then, the shortest distance from start to finish?
So, no, displacement is really the distance between 2 points in a particular direction that must be enforced. So you talk about the distance between 2 points within a particular direction. The direction matters.
But the distance is the total
path
that is traveled.
Good. So the direction does not matter. So that's why we call it, you have scalar quantity, you have vector quantity. All right. Then we talk about speed and we talk about velocity. Speed is a scalar physical quantity, but velocity is a vector. It deals with both magnitude and direction. All right. So, however, the focus is heavy on velocity rather than speed in AdMaths. Just like in regards to distance and displacement, the focus is on displacement rather than distance.
So the speed then is linked to distance, and the velocity is linked to displacement.
Good, because in physics they would understand the definition of what is velocity, right? And what is displacement, right? So they have to have an appreciation of how to understand, to analyze the graph, whether it's a displacement time graph, whether it's a velocity time graph, right? They have to have an appreciation. They must understand that the gradient of a displacement time graph is really velocity, whereas the gradient of a velocity time graph is really acceleration. All of those are tied up in regards to introduction of calculus with regards to differentiation and integration, because when they give you when they put it in an integration differentiation form, you have the displacement function. If they ask you if they want you to solve for velocity, you'd have to first differentiate the displacement function. Why? Graphically, finding the gradient of a displacement time graph, that is actually velocity. So that mean, I remember we told you that differentiation is a matter of gradient. That mean now, if they ask you about velocity, when they give you a displacement function, you'd have to differentiate the displacement function first to get a velocity function. And then you can go ahead and put in your input variable, in order to find the velocity. In which case, the input variable is really mostly time. You get that? Because velocity time graph, displacement time graph. All right? Now, moving on from velocity, from displacement to velocity, and then going on to acceleration, you'd have to further differentiate. You'd have to differentiate the velocity function in order to get the acceleration. So it's like as your first derivative for the first derivative of the displacement function to the velocity function. Second derivative now of the velocity function to the acceleration function. All right. Now, if you're supposed to work in the reverse, move from acceleration function to velocity, you integrate the acceleration function to get the velocity function. Moving from velocity function to go back to displacement function,
a lot of integration.
You integrate the velocity function to get the acceleration, to get the displacement function. All right. So those are very key issues that they have to understand. Because with regards to that segment of this, especially the exam, that challenge you more under the graph and your manipulation of integration and differentiation with regards to displacement, velocity, and acceleration.
And then for the question itself, or the essence of the questions, then especially for acceleration, is on the basis that it is constant.
Well, you can have a constant acceleration. That is, if the velocity graph is uniform.
Okay.
So that is you just get a straight line.
Right.
Right. But you can get a variable acceleration on the basis that the velocity graph is a curve.
Okay.
Because with a curve, the gradient at different points are different. But with a straight line, the gradient of different points is the same. So that's why it's constant with a uniform velocity, because that's a straight line.
Right.
However, with a curve now, so the velocity graph as a curve, the gradient varies irrespective of the point that is located on the graph.
Is there a way to determine, like, for example, what is not needed? Like when you're perhaps attempting a question or so on. I don't know if that falls into like the motion, if displacement is needed or not needed, that kind of a thing.
You can, well, I'm trying to understand how you phrase the question, but
so I guess in the context of equation of like motion.
I mean, I can't say it's needed or it's not. It's all depends on the question. You have to read and analyze. And may I always tell students that, look, man, you have to read the question. Because many of them, truth be told, is that many of them would have solved half of the problem if they read with intention. Some of them just read on the basis that them can call a word or two. But you have to read with intention. What do I mean by that? You have to read with intention to understand what is being read. You understand me? And if you don't understand what is being read, you're not going to know how to approach a problem. You understand me? And then now you can determine, because sometimes, when a student asks me, how me do that? And I don't answer them in regards to, I just bring them back to concept, I bring them back to what I read, and them say, oh, what does it mean? But you never read it.
Yes,
it's on the basis that you never read it. Simple put. Yes, I mean, so the displacement, velocity, acceleration, in regards to motion. So they must have two key things that they have to know going into the exam. Knowing how to draw the graph or sketch the graph.
Which is the distance time graph.
Which is the distance time graph and the velocity time graph. And when they reach the velocity time graph, if they should ask you for the displacement. They have to understand that using the velocity time graphs to calculate displacement is them finding the area below the graph. What do I mean by that?
Yeah.
When you get the graph, a velocity time graph, especially you have different stages of the velocity time graph, you find the area below the graph is saying find the area of the shape that is formed below the graph. And there are three common shapes that you may encounter in regards to the velocity time graph.
I want you to hold the three shapes before we go on. Let's take our final break, and when we come back, we touch some more on those specific graphs in kinematics. This is the A-Team Radio Show. We're talking about ADMAT. Sunko.
If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight. You, we look and say.
But is this real? Hey, Greg, come look at this. Oh my.
Everything loud and wicked every Saturday 3 to 5 p.m. with Outside with Pepita. Loan vibes, loan laughs, and loan entertainment. Because when we say Outside with Pepita, we're there all over Jamaica. Anyway, check them out. We're there. We're in on the business. Stay tuned in for prizes, surprises, giveaways, guest artists, and enough more. But hold on there. We forget to big up my DJ. DJ Jerome, the shell boss, I'm gonna make you bust to pew pew with the maddest, baddest, and latest tunes. So look out for Outside with Pepita. We might be coming to a town near you. You heard it here first. Outside with Pepita, Saturdays 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media. Jamaica, lock it in and don't miss a thing.
Here is the planet's ultimate game. The final of the Football World Cup.
The FIFA World Cup finals are coming to Nationwide 90 FM. We've long been the trusted source to deliver global sporting events like the Olympic Games and the World Championships. And now, we're about to have our fingerprint all over another successful landing of the biggest of them all, the FIFA World Cup finals.
Mbappe.
104 games across 39 amazing days of football from 16 cities in the Americas. Boston to New York to Monterey to Atlanta. Join the trusted source Nationwide 90 FM this summer as the globe tunes in to the FIFA World Cup Finals. And we've got it covered right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Argentina, champions of the world!
Me sing, every pressure on no back. You're illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook. And you not go get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you off a joke. If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight, you.
Welcome back to our show. Tonight we are winding down, looking at the whole matter of mathematics. I have with me in studio tonight Damian Chippy, and he has just been breaking it down. I think he's very gifted in all of the subject areas, but in terms of math, breaking it down for us to understand. And I mean, for me especially, who I have never done mathematics, but as listening to the concepts and how you've been teaching the principle, it's very good and it's easy to catch. So we've been talking about like the velocity time graph, which is a graph that shows how the velocity of an object changes with time.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that, and we know that, for example, time is plotted on the horizontal axis,
which is the x-axis,
and then the velocity is plotted on the vertical axis, which is what we call the y-axis. But just before the break, you were saying that there are some rules or some 3 steps that we need to take in approaching that.
So, as you were saying before going to that, you were talking about which one goes where.
Yes.
For students who does physics, which most ADMAT students that I've encountered, really they do physics. They would have learned that when you're plotting a graph, the first physical quantity that was mentioned, comparing with the other one, the one that is mentioned firstly, based on the rule, goes on the y-axis, and the one that is mentioned secondly goes on the x-axis. All right, so when it's a displacement time graph, you know that displacement was mentioned first. It goes on the y-axis, time goes on the x-axis, which is the horizontal axis, y-axis is the vertical axis. Velocity time graph, likewise, velocity goes on the y-axis, time goes on the x-axis. But before the break, we were talking about how they may ask them to find the displacement of a velocity time graph, and I said finding the area below the graph. What do I mean by that is a shape that is really formed below the graph, and the three common shapes that are formed below the graph is a trapezium, a rectangle, or a triangle. And again, they would have known the formula for finding the area of a trapezium, although probably 6 you would understand that, but they may forget and they may put the area of a trapezium there to, kind of assist them. But then the area of a square or rectangle, and then the area of a triangle. Especially the half base times height regarding that. All right. So, but we do not, and the students must understand that we do not, when it comes on to the displacement time graph, the focus is not the area below it. There will be no focus on finding the area below the graph. Just either the gradient, which would have been the gradient of a displacement time graph is velocity, and so forth. But apart from the graph, as I said, they examine intertwine, integration, and differentiation regarding that topic. All right, it's a very beautiful topic, Yes, I mean, maths really do help it to be well-rounded. A well-rounded individual. Yes, so it goes a far way than just the classroom. It goes as far as building a whole nation, whether you remain a third world or you remain a first world. And I listen to many of both political pundit and academia speaking, and really and truly some of the stuff that they're missing, some of the fundamental stuff, you can hear the missing fundamental, because we're lacking a huge problem. The most common one that is now in circle, the one about the distribution of the funds to the hurricane victims, that is very big in the media as it is now, in the public space as it is now. I don't understand. I've hear people's opinion on the matter. I speak to one or two of my colleagues and all of that, kind of get them view on the matter and so forth. It has nothing to do with politics for me. It's a matter of solving a problem. What is it that you need to do to solve the problem? So it's not a JLP issue or a PNP issue. Yes, this issue need to take on a bipartisan approach in solving the problem. But everybody make it be some kind of football tool. Yes,
And really, based on what you're saying, we need to get beyond that. And
we need to get beyond that and solve the problem.
Solve the problem.
Because people are suffering as it is now. So problem need to be solved. Yes, I like the idea of solving problem. Yes,
but I guess that comes from both a practical and a theoretical side of things. Because
it's a mathematical approach, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it's a mathematical approach. As no matter how you want to spin it, it's a mathematical approach. So talk about the bureaucracy of the getting the funds. Really? That don't make no sense. Yes, people just need to just get to the root of the problem. Resolve it. And you're not feeling a problem with how you go about it, you still follow the rules that exist. You can still follow the rules that exist, but get the problem solved in an amicable time.
Okay. So again, the balancing side of things, and which is important. And as you said there earlier on at the start of the show, that mathematics helping to solve problems. As I say, maths is life. Get geared towards the analytical, the critical thinking skills, and I think too. And I oftentimes say that when students come into the classroom and they're exposed to these disciplines that we teach them, is that right then and there, probably they're not thinking about the future and how it helps with their overall development. Like right now, a student might just say, well, I don't have nothing to do with maths. Maths can help me, you know?
They would like to know how much they would have set themselves back just by that same comment that
exactly,
they make.
right.
Yeah, so regarding they don't want have nothing to do with maths. Maths is everywhere, in everything that you do.
Yeah, certainly.
And sleep and whatever, all of that. Yeah, so I'm solving your illness, your ailment, and all of those stuff. Where do you think it come from? The dosage that you have to take in regards to pill to get rid of it. It's whole maths. Yeah, so I mean, how long you stay in your system to when you need it again and all of those stuff. It's whole maths. Yeah, so and it's full time now. I think, you know, the government has to be very serious. And when I say the government, I mean both parties alike. Because two parties
all the stakeholders.
Yeah, man, all the stakeholders involved need to take it more seriously. Yeah.
So the paper 2, 2 hours and
so the paper 2 is 2 hours and 40 minutes. So each question, by the way, so you have the paper consists of 6 questions. I mean, all questions must be answered. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, the students have to be careful when they're writing. They always give them perimeter. You understand me? Of where to write in. So they know they don't write outside of that. All right, don't write beyond the margin. All right. They also give them a list of formulas. So although we were speaking about formula earlier, they also get a list of formulas that they can use to guide them. You understand me? The students understand that each question, I think number one is 15 marks. Number 2, also 15 marks. Number 3, 20 marks. You understand me? Then number 4 now, 15 marks. Number 5, 15 marks. And number 6 is 20 marks. You understand me?
Those are a lot of marks.
So that is 100 marks in total.
Oh, yeah.
You understand me? That the exam is marked out of.
So tell me something before we go. So, you know, we talk about the principles and that they need to apply. CXC is looking for how the students do their working.
The algorithm, that is the step-by-step approach in solving the problem.
What if a student writes that kind of algorithm but never comes to the correct answer or solution at the end?
Based on the question, they can gain most, if the mark is a 6 marks question. Students can gain 5 marks out of it.
Based on how they
set
reason
it. And the reason behind it and all of that.
Okay. Okay.
Because I don't think it would be right for anybody to just judge you and Martin just about having the right or the wrong answer. It's a matter of your approach to the problem-solving approach in regards to resolving the problem.
So it's your perspective on the matter, but at the same time...
So you're applying yourself. Yes.
Okay. In terms of the paper 1, just briefly, what the paper 1 looks like. Please.
So the paper 1 is a total of 45 questions.
Yes.
And how they are distributed, it covered the whole. One time gone, the paper 1 never used to cover kinematics and probability, but now it do take in all the section into consideration, which is good, by the way. All right. So the paper 1 now, paper 1 is, in my view, would have been more harder to pass than paper 2 because it's just one right answer. Yes, I mean that's how the paper 1 is set up.
Right.
However, so in getting the right answer, they have to understand concept. You understand me? And the ability to compute. You understand me? You have to have the ability to compute. One of the problems that many of them having is computation, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You understand me? Because some people can follow instruction, follow algorithm, step-by-step approach. But the computing is what really mash them up. You see why? From them bar with one tablet in their hand. You understand me? Yeah. I mean, so therefore they might calculate on the basis of being aided by
technology.
Yeah. So, a student asked me if it is that teachers are going to be needed with the whole advent of AI and the advancement of it and all of that. Oh yes, we're going to be needed. at that time. But now the world are going to be lazier more than anything else.
Wow, much to take into consideration. We're out of time for the discussion for this evening. One of the things too is that we've learned this evening how we can apply mathematics to all areas of our lives, and if you missed it, and we have to remind students about their exam timetable. So paper 2 for CSEC Add Mathematics is Monday, May 18th, and that's a 2 hour and 40 minutes paper, and then paper 1 on Thursday, June 4th, 2026. I know sometimes students might not, after they've done the paper 2, they'll say, well, I'm going to have to take out the paper 1. But it's important for them to continue to practice.
Truth be told, as bad as they are, I've never heard a student, they're just as eager. In their mind, they feel they have a better chance with paper 1. Although I will tell them that you have a better chance with paper 2. Mm-hmm. You understand me? But in their mind, they think that they have a better chance with paper 1.
Wow. Well, we want to say to our students that will be sitting the CSEC ADMAT exam and paper 1 and paper 2 all the best when it comes to that. And that's where we're going to be leaving for tonight. And when we come back next Friday, we'll have another course that we will be tuning into. Just want to say that in mathematics, every graph tells a story. The slope slowly changes and the area reveals the journey. I'm Dave and Scarlett. I want to say thank you to our executive producer, Dennis Brooks, the entire Nationwide family, and of course our technical operator, Andrew Anderson. Until next week, have a great evening.
So big up all the youths of KC, Wolmers and men approve. Me look and me sing and say, you now go to school, go on the bench and no chair.